Hey guys, I'm Matt with Underground Experience, and today I'm going to be interviewing Maggie from Tetchy. Thanks so much for being here, Maggie.
Hello. Yes. Oh my gosh, my pleasure.
Yes, thank you so much for taking the time, and I'm really excited to talk to you more about your band Tetchy, as well as the upcoming show we have with you on July 5th at Park City Music Hall at Palmview. Uh,
Yes, it's gonna rip.
it is gonna rip. I'm so excited to have you guys back. It's gonna be a lot of fun. But getting right into the interview, the questions. Uh, my first question to you is, what is the story of Tetchy? Like, how did this band come to be in the state it is?
Yeah. Funny story. I definitely was doing more of like the pop music thing. I actually just have a distinct memory of when I was I actually think I want to make a rock band, which was this was like a long, long, long time ago, but Courtney Barnett was like playing Gov Ball and it got rained out and she ended up moving and doing like a reset at Rough Trade, and I was like, oh man, she's one of my favorite artists. And I got there, the line was like around the block, there was like no way. But my friend, who also is a big Courtney Barnett fan, was like happened to be like about to get into the venue, like he was already in line. And I was like, I'll just like give him a hug and then I'll be on my way. I give him a hug, and then they just like stamp my wrist and I get in and I'm like, all right, cool. Like I've been
Worked.
doing like pop music for a couple of years, but I grew up in the punk scene, super into heavy music, all this stuff. But for whatever reason, I'd kind of like drifted from the idea of like doing rock because I don't know, I just didn't think I don't know, I guess I didn't think I could do it. I just started playing guitar also, like it was like, but I watched Courtney Barnett and I was like right up in the front. I got her set list, all this stuff, and I was like, and I said to my friend, I was like, I'm gonna do that.
That's
I'm gonna do
awesome.
that. Like she had like played, it was like her first sort of foray into like heavier stuff. And my friend was like, you can't, like kind of like jokingly was like, you can't rock that hard. And I was like, watch me.
Watch me, yeah. And you kind of did, low key. I kind
Yeah.
of
And
turned out
then,
that way.
right. So Jesse was like the first, addition to the project, and they came on as like to be a drummer. We were like, perfect. We have like the hardest puzzle piece figured out. We got the drummer. Like, let's go from there. But then they ended up switching to guitar with our lineup change a couple years ago. But yeah, we ended up making the band. It was like four best friends, like kind of just like doing it. The lineup had like shifted over the years, but like it was really just like an exercise and like seeing if we could do something that was like heavy, but also kind of had some of these sort of pop, like more accessible elements. I think we all like brought these like different tastes to it, all brought this idea of like, let's see if we can do something like super collaborative, and the rest was history.
Perfect. Yeah, that's such a great story because it does like I feel like it tells a lot. First off, is like it shows like your musical journey of being more into the more pop stuff and then finding more of a love in rock and then therefore even heavier stuff. And I think all of that stuff throughout that journey shows within your music. Like I think
Yeah,
you described it really well. Like it really shows in your music with it
right.
yeah, the sound that like has heavier elements but is more like accessible, you know?
'Cause I grew up in the Baltimore punk scene. Like I was going to shows when I was like 13. Like my family was like falling apart, and like I don't know, like I don't, maybe I shouldn't say this, but like
You
my
can say
mom
whatever you want.
my mom but like I just remember my mom coming back from rehab and being like, I don't think I can like tell my 15-year-old daughter to stop going to like seven punk shows a week at this point.
Yeah, right.
It was one of those moments where I was like, this has just happened and here we are.
Life brings
But
us like crazy places through crazy
it's
means, but a lot of
probably
times it's meant to happen. So
right. And the three other founding members of Tetchy, they all like went to school together in Western Mass. So that's kind of also like a little like brick in our wall. I don't know why I made that reference, but
it makes sense. No, it makes sense. Yeah, like I 100% see all the influences coming together to make that sound. And I think it's really cool that you did decide to go forth. And when was that show that you saw at Gov Ball?
Oh my gosh. I think that must have been 2017 or
Gotcha. So even like
or
at that point,
2018. Yeah, it was around we started playing together, I think in either 2017 or 2018, but like it was probably 2018. But yeah.
it's really cool to see like in that short frame how much the band has evolved, and like you can even distinctly hear the sound you were going for back then, even with like your first single, which I believe is like Fascist, right?
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Yeah, so even with that, like it's pretty impressive, especially considering you were like, oh, at that point I didn't even like barely knew like how to play guitar. Like it's really cool to see how this band has evolved, and like I think the work definitely shows, you know? Of
Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely
course.
we've poured a lot of ourselves into this project. Yeah.
And that definitely shows, especially with like, I feel like it almost has come full circle because I feel like a song like that has more of like this alternative kick with
Yeah.
like a lot of like punky elements, a lot of rocky elements.
Yeah.
And it's kind of almost come full circle because it's almost kind of come back to the more poppy flavored sound, I feel
Yeah.
like, but with definitely a twist, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Totally. And that kind of we're talking about all these like musical influences. What would you say are
Oh
some of
yeah.
like, your biggest musical influence as far as bands go and just favorites?
This is such a funny question. I was chatting about this question with Kate from Big Girl and from Tetchy the other night. Because we were talking about how people like tend to come up to us and they're like, you must love Hole. Like, you know what I mean? People like kind of assume your influence.
Yeah.
Or your references or whatever it is. And those moments can be like so funny because like I've listened to like five whole songs in my life. Like literally, I never listened to Hole. Like sure, I'm sure I would love Hole. Like, you know,
Yeah.
but it's always funny when I don't know, people ask about influences because like it's just something I have thought very little about over the years. Like I feel like I'm only just now starting to be like, okay, yeah, these are some actual influences, but like at the beginning it felt very much so like I'm just doing my own thing and I'm not, listening, paying attention for better or for worse. But
I think it could
so
be a really good thing, honestly, like to make your
yeah.
like to have your own unique sound. And like Teshy's definitely a band when people see it. I don't think they're like, oh, that's like that band, right? It has
Well,
a very distinct
yeah.
feel.
I mean it kind of ties into some advice that I got like probably a decade ago that was like some of the best advice I've ever received about making art, which is to like create the thing that you are like seeing a lack of. You know what I mean? Like make the thing that you want to listen to. You know, make the thing that you want to see that you're not seeing. Um, and so that's kind of like always how Tetchy has been, where I'm just like, this is like the music that I would listen to. Um, but yeah, influences, like I said, I grew up really loving punk, or like as a teenager, really. I shouldn't say grew up. I grew up on like the Carpenters and like Celine Dion and like
Right.
ABBA. And like my parents met in a disco band. But then I like got really into like 80s hardcore. I would say that like around the like formation of Tetchy, there are some key like influences like Mitski. I was like very obsessed with Mitski in the like 2010s. But nowadays definitely look to like some of the folks in the scene like Mannequin Pussy and um Gel and like Scowl and some of these other folks who are doing really cool things that feel like raw and heavy, but also honest and also like sound really good.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that kind of tends to be the mission of Tetchy, especially with like Jesse in the project, in such a huge part of the project. They're just like an incredible engineer and have had either a hand on or like made most of our recordings. And they're just like really committed to things sounding good and they've got great taste and
And Jesse
engineering.
got riffs.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. Like they tracked our whole latest EP. We tracked that. they track that in our like shitty DIY like basement studio that we built. So like it's pretty incredible stuff.
That is
And
really incredible because you guys have a really polished sound too, so that's
yeah,
really impressive.
it's they're really good at their job. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I feel like I totally veered off course from the question here.
Totally valid. I'm just here to learn more and like share more with people. I think it's awesome. And I think
Yeah.
you do touch on a lot of important
I think
things.
for them, like Spirit of the Beehive is a big one for them. As far as like things sounding good, recordings wise. But yeah.
Yeah, no, like I can totally hear like you brought up like Mitski and like the hardcore punk and like I can totally hear those influences in both of not in both of those influences within your sound,
Yeah.
especially like even at times isolated and sometimes combined, because I feel like I remember when like I first saw you guys, I remember the way you described your band to me. I feel like you said it was like where we because I think we were talking about sounds and like someone doing
Yeah.
sound whatever you're saying is hard because like we have parts that are really soft and then parts that are really loud and heavy, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes, especially with more of the modern releases, on the last EP that just came out, those are almost combined this like simultaneously. It has this like this ethereal, atmospheric, kind of almost like Mitski-esque sound to it, but
Yeah, sure.
musically it's very much ingrained in like old school hardcore punk, especially on the drums. That was one of the first things I noticed when I saw you guys at Space Ballroom last time. It was like very much like that
Yeah.
hardcore punk sound. I was like, oh, I
And I
could
think
like
that there's punk and also like I definitely did like my early 20s were just like drowning in grunge. Like I did love me some grunge. I still do. I love grunge. And our new drummer Ransom is also a little grunge baby, so we
nice.
got that going for us as well.
I can definitely hear that sound as well for sure. It's like it is really cool, like this amalgamation that has come about that is Tetchy. And I think going kind of off of what we were talking about with that being a unique sound, I feel like you guys also have a very unique image to back that, whether it's the merch or the art or the way you guys present yourself on social media. What goes into that, would you say, to create this like very distinct image?
Yeah. Um, it's funny because like just thinking about this idea of like how did Tetchy form? How did we get here? I just remember like really early days being like really committed to figuring out what our aesthetic was. And weirdly, like I feel like I remember it like keeping me up at night. Like I remember being like because in my early 20s, I like had no taste in visual art. I feel like I had no like understanding of aesthetic. I don't know, it was like a mystery to me. And I really wanted it for Tetchy. And I would say that one of the biggest influences was our previous bassist, Dylan. He's an incredible visual artist and actually does tattoos now. If you want a tattoo, his handle is Dungeon Pup.
I
Um,
gotta plug him.
Yeah, for real. Well, and he did a lot of the art for our posters and things like that. But more than that, I feel like just kind of like really was a big shaping sort of factor in how I was like starting to look at art and starting to sort of like notice like what I like and then with that sort of like understanding within myself, like sort of developing that taste, then starting to kind of like understand, okay, what are we going for with Tetchy here? And the thing about Tetchy is it's like and cultivating any project really it's like and anything in life actually, but like a question I like to ask myself is like what is the feeling I'm after. And with Tetchy there's like so many things that are like the clear feelings we're after. And so a lot of that ends up being like this like exploration of like femininity and gender and like sort of exploring what feels like pretty and what feels sort of like cool and cutesy and new, but like the new sort of feeling of feminine, but then also sort of like uh having that dichotomy between like that and like stuff that just feels disgusting and feels like making your skin crawl. Like a lot of any visual artist or like videographer or anyone like we've like worked with over the years, they'll always hear that from me that I want both, that I want to like have it all, where I want to have it like gross and disgusting and jarring and unsettling and all of this stuff, but like mixed with um sort of beauty and like the feelings of Tetchy, which are, you know, about being liberated, about sort of getting into the mess, but also like the beauty of like trauma and grief and things like that. So that's also a really roundabout way of answering your
No,
question.
no, totally. You covered all the bases. I'd rather
I
that than
will
just like,
say, yeah. I just want to add though that I like, it's funny you asked this because I feel like I've just realized in the recent weeks that I like am now a visual artist. Even though like I feel like I have been like doing so much of our visual art for Tetchy for so long, but like primarily I was just like making flyers and posters and things like that, but like primarily like taking art and doing font stuff, but lately it's just kind of been I've also been making the art as well, and like suddenly you just wake up and you're getting like actually hired to like make posters and things like that by record companies, and you're like, how did this happen?
I was
Like,
gonna say that's just another thing. Like you just woke up a week ago, you're like, I could put another thing on my Indeed resume. That's
I
crazy.
know, I'm like, dang,
Exactly.
I think I can get
And it makes sense. Like
this on my
the reason I
LinkedIn.
distinctly like bring up the visual art because I feel like it is a big part of Tetchy. At least it represents Tetchy very well. You know, I had a discussion with my friend the other day about like how important a band's image is. You know, and it makes like you were saying is something that was keep you up at night. It does make sense. You know, because it's like
Yeah,
you know when I look at an album cover. Usually when I'm listening to it, like one of my favorite album of all time is like In the Night Side of Close by Emperor. And they're like a black metal band. And when I look at
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that like atmospheric landscape, I like distinctly picture the music. So I feel like it's
Mm.
a big part of everything. And I feel like Tetchy does a great job of getting all of, covering all of that ground, you know, because at the same time as it is usually using a lot of pinks and blues and like stars and like things that are really almost like this like childlike wonder that are like really
Yeah,
pretty and beautiful. At the same
yeah,
time, there's always this kind of unnerving edge to it. And I feel like that's also in the music, you know? So I feel like it
exactly.
makes sense that you would tell your videographers that, you know, and I think,
Yeah,
yeah, and also kind of also going roundabout way, right? That kind of brings me to talk about your music videos that you guys just put out for some of the releases. What was the process of making those like? And also just want to say, I think it's really cool that you guys have invested so much time in music videos. It's kind of like a lost art form that I think is really important.
yeah, I agree. I feel like music videos are this funny thing where it's like there's so much work. There's so much work, at least the way we do them. And it's really for the art of it. Like it's really for the love of it and for the art that you want to make with them because they don't really like end up returning so much in like this like tangible way. They return in this like intangible way, right? Where it's like if someone sees that and connects with that, they will never ever forget that. You know what I mean? Because like at least that's how I feel with like a good music video.
100.
When I see one. Like I saw recently like Lily Seabird put out a music video that I was like totally just like floored by and it you know, I'm like a forever fan now. So hopefully those kind of like end up doing that job for folks. Yeah, the music videos, I think it started with Backyard was the first one that we did, and then we've done a couple for the most recent EP, Married and Voices and Psychosomatic. Really the only one that I didn't like exclusively sort of like direct and like spearhead the vision for was Psychosomatic, which my dear friend Nick Tanner really that was kind of like his baby. That being said, like we like did end up you know, editing it and things like that. It's very I feel like I have such a strong like eye for the videos like or I just like and And you were asking like what the process is. The process is like I close my eyes and I listen to the song, and the first idea is what we do.
That's kind of awesome though. Like I know it may seem like oh like but no that's because that's like the most authentic reaction because a lot of people when they see that music video that might be their first time so it might like totally go along with that same vision, you know?
Yeah. I
I think
mean,
it's also cool that you have like such a hands-on process with it. I feel like there's a lot of people, especially an aspect like that, where usually if someone's doing a music video, usually there's like a bigger production, right? It might just be, the artist might just be like, okay, like here's kind of what we want to do. But I think it's really cool that you have like your hands like thoroughly in it because it is
yeah.
important,
I
it's for the real ones, as you put it. Like, like the people who are gonna connect to it are gonna connect.
and I hate to say it, but I feel like I do make the music videos the same way that I make the music, where I'm just like so in my own world. It's just so flow state. It's so like this is my idea. I don't care how crazy or like expensive or like unrealistic it is. Like this idea that I had to like set the Barbie car on fire for Married, you know? Sean and I are like, how do we do that? Yeah, so John Burgundy, I should mention, has been like just like he's like one of my favorite people in the world, just in general, but also to collaborate with because his eye for film, it just like matches my taste in like what I want to see so much. My dad, who passed away a couple years ago, was a cinematographer, and I think about it all the time that like, well, first of all, I grew up like here like talking about film and movies and frankly talking about like editing too, talking about color, like talking about story, like all this stuff. Like I've never had like sort of like any sort of formal training in film or anything like that, but it's always just kind of been like how I've thought. And it's been so special to get to work with John because it's almost like he can just like read my mind. And so John like makes it happen. John like makes some kind of crazy like beautiful shot, and then I just like do the editing, and there we have it. It's it's a dream
Perfect.
team really.
I think that's cool that you're able to like pull from like elements prior in your life, like the film side and from your dad, which is super special. I think whenever we do something that like we're like, especially I feel like a parent that isn't here, like, oh, they'd be super proud of that. That's super special.
it's
Um,
it's very special. My dad would have loved John's eye, yeah. So
100%. I'm sure you would have loved the music videos like that you helped make as well, So also I think like that distinct image you gave of the like Barbie car being on fire. I feel like that kind of plays back into what we're talking about with like the elements of something being so like beautiful
yeah,
and like childish, but at the same time being like visceral. And
totally.
also kind of relating to the themes you were talking about, the Tetchy covers. And
Mm.
I just want to circle back to that for a second because I wanted to kind of say like I think it's really cool that Tetchy's able to cover such powerful topics, that are genuinely super important. And I think the lyrics are a big part of that. Um, what does that process look like for like as far as writing the lyrics to the songs?
Yeah, I mean, so I write like from a really emotional place. Like my songs are, for better or for worse, they're like always kind of things that just like need to come out of me, need to be said. Um, for lack of a better word, like I feel like they're kind of like therapeutic, or like some kind of like mechanism for me to process like a big feeling, really. And so yeah, like I don't know, that song Quitter, that I wrote that song in 15 minutes. Mommy, I wrote that song in 15 minutes. Like some of the songs are really these things that are like, wow, it just
Yeah.
come out. Um, Other songs are like these labors of like such time and effort and energy, because it's like I keep having to dig into the feeling to like actually write the words. And sometimes it's hard to get deep in the feelings, but it is like it's like a core. foundational block to Tetchy is the idea of like getting present and sitting in your feelings. So that's really what these songs where they come from.
100%. Like I can totally see that. And I think that that's really special because art is healing, you know, and art is expression. So it only makes sense that you're going to dig at some of the deepest feelings within you. And I think that the way that you particularly write lyrics, like I know that I have listened to a couple songs and gotten really emotional from you guys. Like it's you guys do a great job of conveying those emotions in every way. And I think one of my favorite parts about Tetchy is that I feel like there's a lot of bands that cover those themes or attempt to, or even just like try to cover themes of like mental illness or like struggles and femininity and all these things that
Yeah.
maybe necessarily don't hit the mark and sometimes feel a little corporate, feel a little commercial, or feel a little like, oh, I'm doing this for the image. But I feel like Tetchy hits so like raw while simultaneously like almost capturing some of the elements of those other bands I mentioned, like the good
Yeah.
parts. And
Yeah.
it kind of feels very authentic, especially like in in like in a world where I feel like sometimes like in alternative music, sometimes people have these like conceptions of like or preconceptions of like, oh, like you know, that this band is kind of like all for show or like this rock star mentality, but I feel like Tetchy's like super vulnerable, and I feel like that's really
Vulnerable is exactly the word I was gonna say. It's like and and I have to be real with you, like doing it in this way, in such a exposed way for the past like 2 years or so. I feel like that's when things really started to become even like a lot more vulnerable. And yeah, it's been very, very special because it connects with people and it feels really cool to like have this web of people who can relate to the music, who are feeling some kind of healing with the music, who are feeling some kind of community or collectivism within the music. So that's really special. It's also really exhausting and really a lot. And I'm excited to see what happens next because we're like starting to dig into some more um hard things in new material and it's I think it's gonna be really good.
I'm
But it's
excited.
but it is like it's
Tax.
not like and it's so rewarding, right? And it's so healing, but it is yeah, it can be a lot.
100%. And I think it's like super strong to not just be able to write about it, but also like come on stage.
Well,
That's
that's a big part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that kind of ties in also with like another question I have. You know, I feel like something that also makes Tetchy such a unique, like almost phenomenon is like your stage presence, like you, Maggie, of course, and just the entire band and the kind of artsy performance that you guys put on. Um, I like what exactly goes into creating that, and also how does it feel to do something that's so different that, you know, I bet and I
Yeah.
know because we've done shows together, that that's usually what people say at the end of the night. They'll be like, that like was crazy, that was like awesome, right? So what goes into creating that very distinct image on stage?
That's so funny. I just had like a massive conversation with Jesse about this. And the answer is nothing. So here's the thing, and I think and that's what is on purpose about it. The thing about Tetchy that is like the Tetchy performance that you're talking about is like okay, one thing that has probably gone into that over the years is me meditating.
Okay.
Because the answer to your question like is nothing because like to me the way that I aspire to do Tetchy performance is like to just be as like humanly present as possible. And to me that means just like trying so hard to be with everyone who's there, to be with my bandmates, to be with the songs, to be with, but honestly, also a big part of it is just being with myself and the feelings of these songs, being with my body. Um, and yeah, it's just like actually like a rare thing to really have moments in our lives where we're like actively kind of trying to like focus on this one thing or like actively trying to like be present in this one moment. And like Tetchy sets are such a heal for me because it's like I don't have to think about anything else. I just have to go and do whatever I want.
Perfect. I think that's the best like answer possible, honestly, because like you're right. You're right. Because I feel like no matter what we're doing, whether it's even now, right?
Yeah.
Even you and me having this interview, like presently, like,
Yeah.
you know, we're trying to fulfill something. We're trying to have an interview. But I guess, you know, doing nothing in a sense is just being yourself. And therefore it's contrast because a lot of people when they get on stage are like, I have to obey to this rule because I'm playing. I'm even a set that's more
What?
exciting, right? Like even like a set that's a punk band or hardcore band or even a metal band that's doing something, you're still trying to fulfill certain, you know, things while as Tetchy's exciting in a different way, you know, it's energetic, but it's just like fully yourself, I guess. That's what you're trying to say. Like that's like
Definitely. Even like the things usually that are like kind of like things that feel a little more like would have taken some prep. Like, you know, sometimes we'll have like shirts on, sometimes we'll have banners, like things like that. Like those most often happen the day of or like hours before our set. It's usually like a like waking up and kind of being like, what is the feeling of today? What is the feeling of this place? What is the feeling of this show?
totally. Yeah. I remember, like, I distinctly remember seeing you guys for the first time walking into the shop. And, like, I got there, I think I got there right before your guys' set. And I
Yeah.
just walk in, I see you with, I think, like, skater gear on, like a helmet and, like, knee pads. Like, what the fuck is going on right now? But it was awesome. So it's, like, exactly. It's just, like, that's the kind of mentality, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. Going off that, uh, we do have live performances and such. You know, we had you guys Space Ballroom with the tilt
Oh
set
my God.
one time. We had you at the shop for one of the last shows there before they closed down for now they're opening it, but you know,
Yeah.
and now we have you guys at Palmview at Park City Hall. How you feeling about the show? It's their album release show.
So excited. I'm so excited. It's that's gonna be a ripper. Also, yeah, like Connecticut shows, I have to tell you, like Tetchy loves Connecticut. We have like a deep love affair with Connecticut. It's they're like some of our favorite shows. Everyone who you are bringing together, just like so nice and so sweet and frankly also just like really willing to like go to these places with us and to get real and to get present, to get emotional, to get angry, to get excited, to get horny, whatever it is, to get sad, you know.
Everything.
So we love Connecticut, and we're just like really really stoked to be coming back and for Pondview no less. Like it's gonna rip, it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for coming back. It's gonna be fun, and I'm excited to see you guys set again. It's no matter how many times like I see, I'm just like if it feels a certain like you know, because like even like me who have been like you know have been going to more as of late like hardcore shows and metal shows, and that's been more my forte. Like
Yeah.
I feel like whenever I see you guys on like an alternative bill, it's 100% the highlight because you guys like capture a lot of that energy and like a lot of that like different nature that breaks the mold. You know,
Thank you.
of course,
Really
of
means a lot.
course.
Yeah.
Um, I guess another question I got, you know, we talked a lot about Connecticut, which is sick, and I love Connecticut, but also you're home in Brooklyn, right?
Yeah.
What are some positives of playing there and being involved in that scene?
Oh yeah, I mean, well, New York is so special because it's like, you know, it's as big or as small as you make it. So I love like having times where I'm in the Brooklyn scene where I'm like not really going out and like just making music with my friends and like just kind of like seeing some friends and things like that. And then I love having times where I'm like at a show every night and just like seeing everybody making the rounds. It's really special to like it's really special to feel seen, and to kind of have this feeling of like there are people here who understand me. There are people here who are like me, there are people here who are doing something different than getting married and buying a house and having a dog. I don't
Totally.
know. Yeah, no, we love it. We love our labels here, Trash Casual, our dear friends in Big Girl and other sort of bands here that are really special to us, and who are also about kind of standing for similar things that we're trying to stand for. So it's great. We love it here, but
Great.
we're also
Yeah.
we
I've
also
only been
love
to, what'd you say?
Connecticut. I said, but we also love Connecticut, and we're excited to go.
Yes. I love Brooklyn to be honest. I've been going to a couple of shows there, but I also went to oh, it wasn't Brooklyn, I was Queens, but still around the same area.
Yeah.
I went to a screamo show there recently and like
Oh,
I could just
cool.
tell the scene was still alive and my friend he's also in a band and around the area has been telling me that things have been really popping off lately. So it's
Are really popping off. There's definitely a lot of cool stuff really starting to spring up. Yeah.
100%. Um, last question I'll ask you, is there any future plans that you'd like to share? Or what's in store for Tetchy? I know that you have that new single coming out soon, right?
I have a single coming out. It's Mommy, and it's coming out in August. And we also do have a music video that we're working on for that.
Nice.
So that'll
I'm
be fun.
excited.
Yeah, but we've got some singles coming out soon that we're really excited about. And yeah, then starting work on some bigger projects as well. It's gonna be a fun fall, a fun winter, but also a really fun 2025 for us.
Wow. We're going far in the plans. I like to hear it. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, yeah. Well, and we're also going on tour with Echo Astral in
That's
August.
sick.
This is going to be amazing. Yeah, we're going to the Midwest. We're going to Chicago for the first time. It's going to be great.
Perfect. Beautiful. I've so many shows have been happening around that area right now. It's really good to see.
Oh yeah, we love the Midwest. Yeah.
So sick. Well, I think that concludes our interview. But Maggie, thank you so much for spending time with me and like us, everyone watching. And it was great to hear more about your band. Make sure you go check out Tetchy. Make sure you check out their Instagram, all their stuff, their music. Come see them on July 5th at Park City Music Hall. It's gonna be Palm View's LP release. It's gonna be a fun time. Make sure you get tickets. It's gonna be a ticket link. If you're watching us on Instagram in our bio, if you're watching on YouTube, down below. Thank you so much, Maggie. Once again, it's a pleasure talking to you, and hope to see you guys soon on another interview.
Yeah, see you soon.
Bye.
Wanna be sure I'll meet you in my head. I'm not ready to say that